Okay, so let's talk about something that drives so many companies crazy. You've got this brilliant, game-changing strategy, right? Everyone's excited. And then a year goes by. And you look around and think, wait, what actually changed? It's this huge disconnect between the plan and what actually happens. Today, we're going to dig into why that happens and, crucially, what you can actually do about it.
So here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at just how big this execution problem really is. Then, we're going to bust 5 common myths that cause strategies to fail. After that, we'll dive into a really powerful solution called Hoshin Kanri and see how it works. We'll also get into why getting everyone on the same page is so tough, and then wrap it all up with some key takeaways to make your strategy actually happen. All right, let's kick things off by looking at the scale of this problem. And trust me, it's not just a little thing. This is a huge, widespread challenge.
Get this, 75%. That means 3 out of every 4 large organizations are struggling to actually implement their own strategies. I mean, just let that sink in. It's no surprise that when you ask hundreds of global CEOs what their #1 challenge is, they don't say innovation or growth, they say execution. It's the thing that keeps them up at night.
So the big question is why? Why is this so hard? If everyone agrees that execution is everything, why do we keep getting it wrong? Well, it turns out a lot of what we think we know about strategy is frankly just plain wrong. Let's go through 5 of these flawed beliefs right now. First up, this idea that execution is all about alignment. You know, the CEO sets the direction and it just cascades down. But that's only part of the picture. When you actually ask managers what their biggest headache is, a huge chunk, 30% of them, say it's getting other departments to work with them. So the real problem isn't just up and down the chain of command, it's sideways, between the silos. Okay, myth number 2, the belief that execution just means sticking to the plan. You know those super detailed 100-page project plans? They look great on day 1, but let's be real, the moment they hit the real world, they're out of date. Real execution isn't about being a robot and following a script. It's about being nimble, about adapting to curveballs and grabbing unexpected opportunities when they pop up. This next one, honestly, it's just wild. Leaders think if they just communicate more emails, more time halls, everyone will get it. But the message just isn't landing. Check this out. Almost half of all middle managers can't even name one of their company's top 5 priorities. Think about that. These are the people who are supposed to be leading the charge, and they don't even know what the goals are. It's a massive failure of clarity. And here's a huge one. We all hear leaders talk about collaboration and teamwork, right? But then you look at what people actually get rewarded for. The data shows companies are way more likely to reward you for hitting your individual targets than for helping another team succeed. So what message does that send? It tells people to stay in their lane, protect their turf, and the whole company-wide strategy just falls apart. Finally, there's this myth of the superhero CEO who drives everything from the top. It's a nice story, but it's also super dangerous. The truth is, strategy doesn't happen in the boardroom. It happens in the thousands of tiny decisions made every single day by your middle managers, your team leads, your subject matter experts. They are your distributed leaders, and if they're not empowered, nothing gets done. Okay, so if all those old beliefs are wrong, what's the right way to think about this? The answer isn't to just tell people to execute better. You need a different system entirely. And that brings us to a better way, a method called Hoshin Kanri, which basically means strategy deployment. Now, don't think of Hoshin Kanri as just another business buzzword. It's more like an operating system for your entire strategy. The name literally means compass management. The whole point is to make sure everyone, from the C-suite all the way to the front lines, is oriented toward the same true north. And it does this with a simple but powerful loop. Plan, do, check, and adjust. You're constantly learning and adapting. And look, this isn't some academic theory. The people who actually implement this stuff in the trenches, the senior coaches, they'll tell you this is one of the most critical factors for making change that actually lasts. It's not about a one-off project, it's about fundamentally changing how the organization operates and improves over the long haul. All right, so how does this system actually work in practice? I mean, how do you go from a big, lofty vision to what people are actually doing on a Tuesday morning? Well, it's a very structured and deliberate process. First, leadership defines the big picture, the what and the why. But then, and this is the key difference, they don't just dictate the plan. They start a back and forth dialogue, a process we'll talk more about called catchball, to get buy-in. Only after that alignment happens does the plan cascade down to different departments, who then build their own plans. And all along the way, that plan, do, check, adjust cycle keeps everything on track and adapting. So let's talk about this catchball idea, because it's really the secret sauce. Imagine playing catch. You don't just throw the ball at someone, you throw it to them, and they throw it back. That's what this is. It's a real conversation between layers of the organization to negotiate goals, make sure they're realistic, and get genuine ownership. It's the difference between people just nodding along and people being truly committed. And a process like catchball is so crucial because it's designed to fix that horizontal problem we talked about earlier, that collaboration gap. Because let's face it, getting different teams with different priorities to work together is one of the hardest things to do in any organization. And the data on this is just striking. Look at who managers say they can rely on. Their boss? Yep, over 80%. Their own team? Same thing. But colleagues in other departments? Whoa, that number drops all the way down to 56%. That's a massive trust deficit, and it's where strategies go to die. And here's the real kicker. The reason that trust is so low is because there are no consequences. Only 1 in 5 managers believe that if someone fails to collaborate, anything will actually be done about it. The company might say it values teamwork, but the system basically tolerates siloed behavior. And that lack of accountability just kills any hope of real cross-functional execution.
Okay, so we've seen the problem, we've busted the myths, and we've looked at a better way forward. Let's boil this all down now into some clear takeaways that you can actually use.
Really, it comes down to a few key shifts in thinking. First, stop focusing only on top-down alignment and start building horizontal coordination. Second, trade your rigid plans for real agility. Third, make sure you're communicating for true understanding, not just broadcasting messages. Fourth, and this is huge, actually reward the collaboration you say you want. And finally, give your middle managers, your distributed leaders, the power to make decisions and get things done. So let me leave you with this one final thought, this one big question to ask yourself. Is your strategy a document or is it a conversation? Because if it's just a document sitting in a binder, it's already failed. But if it's a living, breathing conversation that's happening every day in your teams, well, that's a strategy that actually stands a chance.